this happened. North Korea fired what appeared to be a ballistic missile into its eastern sea yesterday. The second time in a week, Kim Jong-un called for an expansion of its nuclear weapons program, defying international opposition. Around the same time, the FAA ordered departures for 15 minutes on all flights on the West Coast because of the events in the Indo-Pacific region to be grounded. Officials didn't tie it specifically to the missile launch, however.
Joining us live from Washington right now is a Republican congressman from Santa Clarita, Mike Garcia. Before he was a member of Congress, he in his previous life, he was a fighter pilot. Congressman, I know we all don't know a whole lot about this yet, although you and your subcommittee may soon know more about it. What do you know, and are there any sort of red flags when you hear this story that you think about?
Well, like you said, nothing concrete yet, and I'd hate to make presumptions about what's going on here too far in advance of what we actually know, and when we get details from folks who are seeing this on the ground. But yes, it's an amazing coincidence. It was these groundings were called right around the time that North Korea was launching what is being called a hypersonic missile test. This is a follow-on test to one they had a few weeks ago, as well as China's a couple of months ago. And so one may look at this and say, hey, this is one way of making sure that our national security apparatus is decluttering the airspace, making sure that we're not putting more metal in the air while we're actually trying to track something like a hypersonic weapon. In this case, the North Korea test only went a few hundred miles. This wasn't something that was flying at the continental United States, but it may have been something that we wanted to actually look at our systems and test them to see if we were able to track and detect it, but also track it through its trajectory. So we'll find out more, Alex, and we're not exactly sure yet what the rationale and cause was. Folks on the ground do, and we'll be looking at that.
It does seem pretty peculiar, though. I'm looking at the FAA statement here, and it simply says, as a matter of precaution, the FAA temporarily paused departures at some airports along the West Coast on Monday night. And that's essentially their statement, to which then people are, why? Why? So what would they be hiding? How concerned should people really be?
Well, I think for this particular incident, I don't know that we need to be very concerned. I think it's a solid protocol. Look, if you have hypersonic weapons or intercontinental ballistic missiles that have been detected, launched, and are en route to something like the continental United States or one of our territories, it is a good protocol to halt. So if that was the rationale, it makes sense. It was, in this case, an abundance of caution, obviously, and they ended up not having to keep this halt in place for very long. But look, we should all, as Americans, be very concerned about this hypersonic weapon threat. This is something that's been developing over the last 10 to 15 years, not only with China and North Korea, but also with Russia. These are systems that we're working on. These are systems that go Mach 5 and above, meaning 5 times the speed of sound. And unlike intercontinental ballistic missiles, these missiles tend to stay in the mesosphere, the stratosphere. These are flying anywhere from 150,000 feet up in the air all the way up to 250,000 feet in the air. And the problem with that is, while they're going so fast, they're also very maneuverable when they're still in our atmosphere. And these are very lethal weapons, very difficult to detect. When they maneuver, they're very difficult to defend against. And in the end game, these things are coming in over 400,000 or 4,000 miles per hour. And when there's mass quantities of these things, it's a very lethal threat. So we need to be taking this seriously, investing in our own offensive and defensive hypersonic weapon missile capabilities as well. We're working on that.
We thought COVID was scary.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. We can't take our eye off the ball. The real threat out there is China. The real threat is this type of technology, and we've got to navigate these turbulent waters with COVID. But we can't take our eye off the fact that we're all Americans in the same boat here, and there are countries out there that are developing weapons that are ultimately going to be used to threaten our existence.
Meanwhile, the real threat here at home for a lot of people has been this rise in crime that we have seen, especially sort of violent retail theft. I know you have been frustrated with the LA County District Attorney. You want him to resign. Why is that? Have you heard anything back from his office? And where do you see this playing out over the next
Yeah, we haven't heard anything
years?
back from his office. I did formally call for his resignation. Look, this has been something that's been a work in progress for several years as well. I mean, he took his policies from the Bay Area, early release, zero bail, being lenient on criminals, and really defending criminals rather than defending victims of crimes from the Bay Area. And he's copy-pasted that mantra down here in the Southern California, in our case, Los Angeles County. And we're starting to see the results of that on the heels of the defund the police movement, on the heels of everything that we saw over the last couple of years with our police seeing all these headwinds. We now have a DA who's calling for early release, zero bail policies, Prop 47, Prop 57. These are the bills in California that reclassify felonies as misdemeanors and allow for early release. AB 109 takes prisoners who should be in state penitentiaries and puts them in our local jails so that we don't have room. And this guy, Gascon, he's operating like the Penguin from Gotham City, where he's actually advocating in many cases for the criminals, and he's acting like a defense attorney rather than a district attorney. So we need someone who's going to be on the side of the victim and not on the side of the criminal. That's not his job. We need him to protect us and not the criminal. And so this is why I'm frustrated. I'm not alone. There's a lot of folks calling for his resignation. Beverly Hills just, I think last week, as a city council, determined that they were going to support his removal as well. And so there's a lot of cities now throughout the county that are recognizing this. This is a massive threat. And again, this isn't a Republican versus Democrat thing. I've partnered with Sheriff Villanueva, who's a Democrat. We've done great things in our district with these illegal grow busts that we've been conducting. It's about security. And in the end, people want to know that they're safe. They want to know that when they dial 911, the cops are going to show up. And that when folks commit crimes, they're going to be held accountable. And right now, we don't have that confidence. And it's a direct result of our policies, but in large part, Gascon's conduct and the way he's running his shop.
And to be fair, we did reach out to DA Gascon for comment. We have not heard back. You know, this isn't new. There has been a recall effort launched against him earlier, at the end of last year or in the fall. That didn't work. You know he's not going to step down. So to your point about this isn't about Democrat, this isn't about Republican, let's just work together. Shouldn't that be the case then?
Yeah, it should be. We're trying to. I think and don't get me wrong, I have no delusions that he's actually going to resign. And frankly, I don't have much faith in any recall, and I'm not a big fan of recalls. But the fact is, when you're dealing with folks like that, like this, sometimes you do need to metaphorically hit them over the head with a stick and wake them up. And it's an educational program as much as anything for the average voter to realize what this guy is doing. He's removing enhancements. He's letting bad guys and pedophiles get back on the streets, and he's putting them back in our neighborhoods. And when you look at the track record of what he's done just in the last year or so, it's horrendous, and it is literally putting our lives at risk at a time when we're already seeing our murder rates double in the last 24 months. So this is a real problem. Like you said, Marla, I'm not expecting him to actually resign. I'm not expecting him to return your phone call nor mine. But we are expecting him to pay attention and listen to what his, in this case, the voters who elected him are asking for, and that's just basic security.
Well, we've been inviting him on this show for over a year after he promised to come on all the time, and he has not come on once in that time. Mr. Gascon, if you're watching, we promise not to call you the Penguin if you come on. But we'd love to hear your perspective. Congressman, we appreciate your perspective and your regular appearances here, and hope you're well. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, guys. Happy New Year.
All right. Coming